I'm Monica, and I thought I knew every corner of my marriage, every quiet routine, every predictable beat of our life together. But one night, under the dim lights of a grand old library, my world tilted on its axis. Dressed in a sleek black dress at my husband Ethan's cryptic request, I stepped into a maze of ancient shelves, my heart pounding with a mix of thrill and unease. His whispered words, "Trust me, this will be something we'll never forget," sent a shiver down my spine, promising a moment that would redefine everything. What did he have planned in that shadowy, silent space? And how far would I go to follow his lead? Picture this. I'm standing at the edge of a quiet street at dusk, watching the last sliver of sun bleed into the horizon, and I can't shake the feeling that my life is a canvas waiting for a reckless stroke of color. My name is Monica, and at 41, I've carved out a steady existence in a mid-sized American city where the hum of routine is as familiar as the sound of my own breathing. I'm a freelance graphic designer, piecing together logos and layouts from the comfort of my home office, where the most daring thing I do is experiment with a bold font. But my world isn't just mine. It's tethered to Ethan, my husband of 15 years, a 43-year-old software engineer whose very essence is a live wire, sparking with a need for the next thrill. Ethan is a force, a man who doesn't just walk through life, but charges at it, whether he's leaping from a plane with a parachute strapped to his back or sitting in some shadowy basement, betting high stakes in underground poker games. He's always testing the edges, pushing against the invisible walls society builds around us, and I've spent years trying to keep up, or at least not fall too far behind. Our marriage has been this delicate dance, my cautious steps countering his wild leaps. I'm the one who double-checks the locks at night, who budgets for rainy days, while Ethan is the one who drags me onto midnight drives with no destination, or convinces me to try things that make my heart race in ways I can't quite name. It's exhilarating, sure, but there are moments when I wonder if I'm holding on to him, or just holding on for dear life. He's got this charisma that pulls you in, a sharpness in his gaze that makes you feel like he's seeing right through to your core. And yet, there's an enigma to him, a part I can't quite decipher. No matter how many years we've shared, I've seen that look in his eyes 1,000 times, but a week ago, it hit different. We were in our kitchen, the kind of late night where the world feels hushed, just the two of us with a bottle of red wine on the counter, the dim light casting long shadows across the room. Ethan leaned in close, his voice low, almost a whisper, and with this glint in his eye, he said, "What if we erase that boundary entirely?" I froze, the glass halfway to my lips, his words sinking into me like ink into paper. I didn't ask what he meant, not then. I couldn't. But those words have been looping in my mind ever since, stirring something I can't name, a mix of curiosity and a quiet, nagging unease. I love Ethan's daring, the way he makes me feel alive in moments I'd otherwise let slip by. But there's this other part of me, the part that craves stability, that whispers to pull back, to stay safe. It's a tug of war inside me, one I can't seem to resolve, no matter how much I try to balance the two sides of myself. That lingering question from our late-night conversation in the kitchen still haunts me, gnawing at the edges of my thoughts as I step into the next chapter of this unpredictable journey. It's a Thursday evening now, and I find myself walking through the heavy double doors of the city library, a grand old building that feels like a relic from another era. The air inside is thick with the musty scent of aged paper, and the towering shelves seem to loom over me, holding secrets in their silent rows. I'm here at Ethan's request, though I'm not entirely sure why. His instructions were cryptic, as they often are, delivered with that same glint in his eye that both thrills and unnerves me. He told me to meet him just before closing time, and, more curiously, to wear something formal, a sleek black dress that clings to me in a way that feels almost too bold for a place like this. My heels click softly against the polished wooden floors as I move past the circulation desk, the sound echoing in the near-empty space. I can feel the weight of curious glances from the few remaining patrons, their eyes lingering on the contrast between my elegant attire and the casual atmosphere of worn-out backpacks and crumpled notebooks. I smooth the fabric of my dress self-consciously, wondering why Ethan insisted on this detail. He wouldn't explain, of course, just gave me that knowing smirk over the phone and said it would all make sense soon. My pulse quickens a little as I scan the vast room, the faint hum of fluorescent lights buzzing overhead, mixing with the occasional rustle of a page being turned. Then I spot him, standing near the non-fiction section, his posture relaxed, but his presence commanding as always. Ethan's dressed in a crisp button-down shirt and dark jeans, looking effortlessly put together, his sharp eyes locking onto mine the moment I come into view. He smiles as I approach, a slow, deliberate curve of his lips that sends a familiar warmth through me, tinged with a flicker of uncertainty. He steps forward, taking my hand in his grip firm and reassuring. Leaning in close, his breath brushes against my ear as he whispers, "Trust me, Monica, this will be something we'll never forget." His words send a shiver down my spine, a mix of anticipation and nerves fluttering in my chest. I nod, even though a part of me wants to ask a dozen questions. But I've learned over the years that with Ethan, sometimes it's better to just follow his lead, to let the mystery unfold in its own time. So I let him guide me, his hand still holding mine as we weave through the labyrinth of bookshelves, the library growing quieter with each passing minute. The last few patrons are trickling out now, their footsteps fading into the distance, and an overhead announcement crackles through the speakers, warning that the library will close in 10 minutes. The silence that follows feels heavier somehow, pressing down on us as we move deeper into the library's heart, the silence wrapping around us like a heavy cloak. Ethan leads me past rows of books, their spines faded with age, until we reach the historical archives section, a secluded corner that feels like stepping into a forgotten world. The air here is even thicker with the scent of old paper and dust, and the towering shelves create a narrow aisle that seems to close in on us. There are no cameras here, no prying eyes. Just the four of us, surrounded by the weight of history. I notice an old wooden table in the center, its surface scarred from years of use, and a worn poof in the corner where Ethan casually settles, crossing his legs as if he's merely a spectator to whatever is about to unfold. My heart is pounding now, a wild rhythm in my chest, as I stand between Caleb and Derek, two of Ethan's closest friends who've joined us for reasons I'm only beginning to grasp. The tension in the air is palpable, a charged undercurrent of unspoken intent that makes my skin prickle. Caleb, with his quiet intensity, stands to my left, his gaze flickering between me and the floor, while Derek, broader and more imposing, looms to my right, his presence a steady heat I can't ignore. I feel caught in some invisible web, the threads tightening with every passing second. Ethan's eyes meet mine from across the small space, calm and assured, as if he's already seen the ending of this story. Then he speaks, his voice low and deliberate, cutting through the stillness. "She's okay with it. She wants it." Those words hit me like a shockwave, and suddenly, everything clicks into place. This isn't just a late-night library visit or some spontaneous adventure. This is something Ethan has orchestrated, an experiment that blurs the lines between what's public and private, what's allowed and what's forbidden. My mind reels, a storm of emotions crashing through me. There's fear, sharp and cold, whispering for me to turn and run. But there's also curiosity, a dangerous pull that tugs at something deep inside me, something I've never dared to name. And beneath it all, there's a strange urge to surrender, to let go and trust Ethan's vision, no matter how far it takes me from the safety of the familiar. I don't protest. I can't. Not with Ethan's gaze holding mine, not with the weight of my own unspoken desires pressing against my resolve. My breath catches as Caleb steps forward, his fingers brushing my wrist with a tentative touch that sends a jolt through me, electric and unexpected. Behind me, Derek moves closer, his breath warm against the back of my neck, his hand grazing my shoulder in a way that makes my pulse spike. Their movements are slow, almost reverent, mirroring the library's surreal quiet. But inside me, it's chaos. Shame and exhilaration tangling together. Vulnerability stripping me bare in a way I've never felt before. The moment unfolds with a raw intensity I can't escape, as I find myself drawn to the edge of that old wooden table, its rough surface grounding me even as everything else spins out of control. The unread volumes on the shelves around us seem to stand as silent witnesses, their ancient pages holding secrets of their own. Every sound feels amplified in this hushed space. My shallow, uneven breaths, the faint rustle of fabric as boundaries dissolve, the creak of the table beneath the weight of the moment. It's as if time itself has slowed, each second stretching into eternity, capturing every fleeting sensation in stark detail. My skin burns where it's touched, my mind a whirlwind of conflict and surrender, as I let myself fall into the current of Ethan's design. I glance over at him, needing to see his reaction, and my stomach twists when I notice his phone in his hand, the small screen glowing as he records it all. His expression isn't one of jealousy or anger, but of fascination, like he's documenting some groundbreaking discovery, a scientist observing the results of a daring hypothesis. It unnerves me, that detached intensity in his eyes, but it also fuels the strange fire burning inside me. What does he see through that lens? What is he capturing that I can't see myself? As the intensity of that charged moment in the library's archives fades, a heavy silence settles over the space, thick and almost tangible, like a fog that clings to every surface. My breath is still ragged, my chest rising and falling as I try to anchor myself back to reality. The only sound breaking through is the distant crackle of the intercom, a tinny voice announcing that the library is closing in just a few minutes. It feels like a lifeline, a reminder of the world outside this secluded corner, but it does little to steady the trembling in my hands. I sit up slowly on the edge of that scarred wooden table, the cool, rough surface pressing into my palms, grounding me as I adjust the fabric of my dress with shaky fingers. My skin feels flushed, a thin sheen of sweat clinging to me, and my limbs ache with a dull, lingering tension. The air around me is still heavy with the scent of old books, but it's mixed now with something raw, something primal that I can't quite name but can't ignore either. I glance up to see Caleb and Derek stepping back, their faces a confusing mix of awkwardness and something like quiet satisfaction. They avoid my eyes, murmuring quick, almost inaudible goodbyes, before turning and disappearing into the maze of towering shelves. Their footsteps fade fast, leaving me alone with Ethan in this forgotten nook of history. My gaze shifts to him, and I watch as he tucks his phone into his pocket with a deliberate motion, the glow of the screen vanishing as if it had never been there. He approaches me with a quiet intensity, his steps measured, his eyes locked on mine in a way that makes my pulse stutter all over again. There's no trace of the detached observer now. His expression is softer, almost reverent, and it throws me off balance. He reaches out, his hands gentle as they help me to my feet, his touch a stark contrast to the wild energy of moments before. My legs feel unsteady, but his grip is firm, steadying me as I stand. He leans in close, his voice a low whisper that brushes against my ear, sending a shiver through me. "You were incredible," he says, and the words hit me like a wave, stirring a rush of conflicting emotions. There's a part of me that swells with a strange sense of empowerment, a feeling of having stepped beyond my own limits, of having claimed something I didn't even know I wanted. But there's another part, quieter but insistent, that churns with uncertainty. Did I truly want this? Or did I just let myself be swept along by Ethan's unrelenting current? Was this my choice or his design? I don't voice these questions as we start to move, leaving the archives behind us. My heels echo against the polished floors, the sound sharp and hollow in the now empty library. The vast space feels even larger without the murmur of patrons, the silence amplifying every step we take. We pass through the labyrinth of shelves, the weight of what just happened settling deeper into my bones with every moment. As we near the main doors, a lone security guard gives us a cursory wave, his eyes barely lifting from the clipboard in his hands. He doesn't seem to notice anything unusual, doesn't sense the storm of emotions raging inside me, and I'm grateful for his indifference as we step outside. The warm night breeze hits my face the moment we cross the threshold, a sharp contrast to the stifling, musty air of the library. It's like a slap of clarity, pulling me further out of the haze that's clouded my mind. I take a deep breath, letting the fresh air fill my lungs, and glance around at the city that surrounds us. Streetlights cast golden pools of light onto the sidewalk, their glow soft but steady, illuminating the cracks and imperfections in the concrete. The distant hum of traffic weaves through the night, a constant undercurrent to the quieter sounds of life. A couple's faint laughter as they pass by on the opposite side of the street, their voices carrying just enough to remind me that the world hasn't stopped, even if mine feels like it has. Ethan's hand finds mine, his fingers intertwining with my own, and the contact sends a jolt through me as we stand on the library steps under the vast, inky night sky. The weight of everything that just unfolded inside crashes over me like a tidal wave. I'm Monica, and right now, my heart is a tangled mess of emotions I can't quite unravel. I turn to Ethan, my husband, the man who's always been the storm to my calm, and I look into his eyes. There's something there beyond the usual spark of thrill. There's a kind of triumph. A glint that tells me he's proven something. Maybe to himself, maybe to me. It's as if he's conquered a mountain I didn't even know we were climbing. And I'm left standing at the peak, breathless, wondering how we got here. A flood of feelings surges through me, each one vying for dominance. There's a strange pride swelling in my chest, a quiet awe at my own daring, at how I stepped into the unknown and emerged on the other side. I've crossed a line I never thought I'd approach, let alone leap over, and there's a raw power in that. But beneath it, there's a lingering doubt, a whisper that asks if I've lost something of myself in this act, if I've given up a piece of who I am to become part of Ethan's vision. My mind churns, caught between the rush of exhilaration and the shadow of uncertainty. Did I do this for me or for him? Was this liberation or just another way of being tethered to his relentless need to push boundaries? I can't hold the question inside any longer. My voice trembles slightly as I ask, "Why did you need this, Ethan? Why did you need me to do this?" The words hang between us, heavy in the cool night air, and for a moment I think he might deflect, might flash that charming smirk and brush it off. But he doesn't. His gaze holds mine, steady and piercing, as if he's been waiting for me to ask. His response comes slow, measured, each word chosen with care. "Boundaries are cages, Monica," he says, his voice low, almost a murmur against the hum of the city. "They trap us, keep us small. Love, real love, means exploring every edge of each other, even the darkest ones. It's not about staying safe. It's about diving into the unknown together." His words cut deep, slicing through the fog in my mind. He goes on, his tone softening but still intense, framing what happened as more than just a reckless moment. "This is our story," he tells me. A secret we've written together, one no one else can read. It's ours, etched in a language only we understand. I feel the weight of that, the intimacy of it. Like we've created something sacred in the midst of something forbidden. My thoughts race back through the years of our marriage, to smaller risks we've taken, to late-night confessions whispered in the dark, to times I've let him nudge me past my comfort zone, whether it was a spontaneous road trip with no map or bearing my deepest fears under the cover of midnight. Each moment was a stepping stone, I realize now, leading to this ultimate test of trust, this leap into uncharted territory. As I stand there, the city buzzing softly around us, I feel a shift inside me, a quiet acceptance settling into place. This wasn't just about seeking a thrill, not some fleeting high to chase. It was about rewriting our connection, defying the rules and expectations that box most people in. What we did inside those library walls, in that hidden corner among ancient tomes, was a rebellion against convention, a declaration that our bond doesn't fit neatly into anyone else's mold. It was raw, unscripted, a moment where we shed every layer and stood exposed to each other in a way that's both terrifying and beautiful. I can still feel the echo of it, the charged air, the unspoken understanding, the way we danced on the edge of something society would never condone, crafting a memory that's ours alone. I take a step closer to Ethan, drawn by an instinct I can't name, and lean into him. My head finds its place on his shoulder. It's been a week since that night, and I'm sitting at my desk in our quiet suburban home, the faint hum of the neighborhood filtering through the open window. The world outside moves on, kids riding bikes down the street, the distant bark of a dog, the rustle of leaves in the early autumn breeze. But inside, I'm still caught in the echo of what happened in that library. Every detail is etched into my mind with a clarity that steals my breath. The cool, rough texture of that old wooden table under my fingertips. The hushed whispers that seemed to linger in the air like ghosts. The way shadows danced across the shelves as if they, too, were part of our secret. I close my eyes, and I'm there again, feeling the weight of every moment, every choice, every boundary that dissolved in the stillness of that forgotten corner. On the surface, life has slipped back into its familiar rhythm. Ethan and I wake up each morning, brew coffee together in the kitchen, share quiet smiles over breakfast before heading to our respective workspaces. Him to his coding projects, me to my design layouts. We laugh over trivial things like a spilled mug or a quirky client request. And we sit on the couch at night, watching reruns with our legs tangled under a blanket. But beneath this veneer of normalcy, there's a current that wasn't there before. A silent pulse between us that hums with the knowledge of what we shared. It's in the way our eyes meet across the room, holding a fraction longer than they used to, carrying an unspoken acknowledgement of the line we crossed. We don't talk about it, not yet, maybe not ever, but it's there. A quiet thread woven into the fabric of who we are now. I've found myself drawn back to that night in ways I didn't expect. Late at night, when the house is still and Ethan is asleep, I've pulled up the video he recorded on his phone. Not out of shame or regret, but out of a need to see myself through his eyes, to understand what he captured in those fleeting, charged moments. Watching it, I see a version of myself I barely recognize. Someone raw and unguarded, caught between vulnerability and a strength I didn't know I possessed. There's a power in that image, a woman who stepped into the unknown and claimed it as her own, even if just for a few stolen minutes. It's unsettling, too, to witness my own surrender, to see how I let myself be carried by the tide of that experience. But each time I watch, I feel a little more at peace with it, a little more certain that I don't carry regrets. Not because it was easy or without consequence, but because it was a choice, a deliberate act of trust, of stepping fully into Ethan's world, if only for one night. A few days ago, I did something I hadn't planned. I went back to the library alone. It was mid-afternoon, the space buzzing with the quiet activity of students and retirees, a stark contrast to the eerie stillness of that night. I walked through the heavy double doors, the familiar scent of aged paper washing over me, and made my way to the historical archives section. My steps slowed as I approached that narrow aisle, my heart picking up a rhythm I couldn't control. The shelves loomed just as they had before, silent sentinels guarding their ancient secrets. I stopped at the old wooden table, its scarred surface unchanged, and ran my fingers over the rough grain. It felt like touching a memory, like claiming a piece of that night as mine in a way I hadn't before. Standing there, I felt a quiet ownership of this space, a sense that I'd left an invisible mark here. A story no one else would ever read. Stories, I've come to realize, aren't always in the words we speak or the pages we fill. They're often hidden between the lines, tucked into the margins of what's said and done, in the silences we choose to keep. What happened in this library is a chapter of my life I'll never share with anyone beyond these walls, not with friends, not with family, not even in whispered confessions over wine. It's a piece of me that belongs only to. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and comment if you enjoyed this story. This will help us create more engaging stories for you.